Hi guys, it's Jennibellie. I'm over this side of the studio because my desk is just... haha. So I just want to do a quick video because I'm being asked a lot about my paper choices, what paper I use, do I gesso it, do I gesso every time, etc, etc. So this is just kind of a basic info on different paper weights, on the different media you can use on those papers, and also about gessoing and then all the papers besides artist papers. So it's quite a newbie kind of video, but don't worry, my next video is a tutorial, art gelling tutorial. I haven't got like every paper that I have in this studio to show you because I've got like a forest in here, so it'd be ridiculous and we'll be here all day. But what I'm just going to do is take you through from like the lightweights to the heavyweights. So the first up is kind of lightweight kind of drawing paper. This is the lowest scale. This is 110 GSM, and I guess it's what you call cartridge paper. So if you buy a bog standard sketchbook, not a very expensive one, this is the kind of paper that it will be filled with. But it's still, to say that, I bought some bog standard cheap ones and they haven't had this good a quality sketchbook paper in it. But what this is, 110 GSM, what GSM means is grams per square metre. I don't know what measuring system you have where you are. I know America, they use pounds like you would weigh in yourself. I don't know what the equivalent is, but just to give you an idea, this is copier paper, and copier paper is 80 GSM. So this is 110, this is 80, and as you can tell, it's very, very, I mean, put anything wet on that and that's just going to disintegrate. It's very, very thin, and so this is a little bit better. It's an extra, almost an extra third weight. And that's your bog standard drawing paper. Just to show you the possibility of what you can actually do with this though, this is what I used on the oil and ink tutorial that I showed you how to make this face. And if you watch that, you can see I did put so much wet media on here, ink wash that I used. And it, as you can see, it's gone a little bit crinkly. I'm not going to lie, but crinkles don't bother me that much. I mean, I'm probably going to stick her down onto something anyway, and when she's going to be covered and glazed in, she's not going to have a crease on her at all. So that's just an idea. There's nothing that's run through. So you can see, if I was to use like Copics or Pro Markers or Sharpies on here though, they will go through to the back. So that's the bog standard drawing type paper. So if you wanted to, that's probably the kind that you would most likely gesso if you wanted to. Next up is this one down here. This is 140. I know it's huge. I couldn't be bothered to cut it down, but this is 140, and this is what I use. I use big sheets like this to create books with, and it's a good bog standard paper. It will take, I'll show you a book I made with it actually. Okay, I can't find it. C'est la vie. I've got other books to show you though, so don't worry. So this is basically like a medium weight, more expensive sketchbook paper. If you was to get it with this one in, it'd be more expensive. It's quite equivalent actually to my Moleskine sketchbook. So if you have the sketchbook, it's a little bit thinner I think than that. I did my Tell All Tuesday face on it, and as you can tell, that too kind of crinkled a little bit, but again, nothing to worry about. I mean, nothing really to worry about at all, and I haven't gessoed either of those faces. Next up is the heavyweights. We're talking 220 GSM. This is now getting into watercolour, professional watercolour papers. This is the lower end of the watercolour papers, but it will still take a hell of a lot of wet media without needing to be gessoed. And then finally 300 GSM is the watercolour paper. There is no need to gesso this. This is about you know the Fabriano papers that everybody goes on about, this is the same weight as that. You can go higher than this, but then you're getting into really expensive artist papers. I think they go up to 600 GSM, but that is literally like thick as card. I mean, this is thick as card, you know. This isn't going to buckle, no matter how much wet media you put onto it. The next tutorial I'm going to do actually is on this kind of paperweight, so you'll see how much wet media I put on this on the next tutorial, and it's fine. So that's basically the paperweights. Okay, so I'll show you some other type of papers. This is my current art journal, which you have probably seen in recent tutorials, and I filled this with the 140 GSM paper. I'll show you some sheets in it of that paper. This is that paper here, and I just tore all the edges. That's the paper. That's the paper there. That's the paper. That's the paper. So as you can see, it takes wet media and doesn't buckle under wet media. I mean, I know there's not a lot on there, but that's enough spray to make it buckle if it was any thinner. The rest of this book is patterned papers. So the rest of this book is all 12 by 12 pattern papers. And basically, I will paint on anything. You give me anything and I will paint on it. So that's why I've put some pattern papers in this book, because it's just like a starting process, you know. It's already got something there for you to go on. So I'll show you this journal that I made a couple of days ago. Oops, they're falling on the floor. I made this. Are they cute patterns? Out of tissue boxes. So I made it out of these tissue boxes. So you don't need to go out and buy really expensive papers. You have things in your house that you can paint on. I won't not create on something because I've not bought it out of a shop, or I won't not create on something because it isn't the right kind of media to use for that particular piece of paper. I might gesso these. I don't know, I'll see where the mood takes me when I come to do it. But as for gessoing, no, I do not gesso all the time. I sometimes gesso when I shouldn't, just because I feel like it. I sometimes gesso when sometimes don't gesso when I should. It's entirely how I'm feeling when I come to create. The gesso that I use is, I buy it by the litre to save money. This is a graduate one, which I'm not too impressed with, I have to admit. I will go for a more expensive one next time, but this whole thing cost me about £6, so I can't really expect it to be ridiculously brilliant, but it does the job. If I want a really heavy coat, I have to do 2 coats. That's all the difference is. I'm not sure where all this desire to gesso everything comes from. You do not need to gesso everything that you come into contact with. The only difference I think is for the majority of people is whether you prefer working on a gessoed surface or not. I often like the feel of paper rather than the feel of the gessoed surface. That's just my personal preference. Sometimes though, I really do want to gesso. It's a personal thing, I think, a lot of the time. It's not just about whether you should or whether you shouldn't gesso. So I guess my best advice for paper choices in gesso is just to not worry so much about whether you're using the right kind of paper for that media, whether you should gesso it or not. I feel like sometimes we worry a little bit too much about what materials it is we are using rather than what it is we're trying to create. What I will say is, if you come to have a journal and you are creating in fragile papers, then yes, gesso is probably a good idea, because the other side is going to suffer if you don't do it. I.e. you use markers, you use ink, you use something that is going to bleed through the paper, then yeah, gesso. To be honest though, a lot of the time I won't bother when I'm working on this side, I won't bother gessoing until I'm on the other side and the things have bled through. It's a prompt. It's like, right, okay, so I need to cover that, so I will gesso, or I'll acrylic, or I'll do something to cover that up. And it's a prompt to get you to use a different kind of media or to see what will come out of that page. It's not mandatory to gesso everything, you know.